Okay, so guys, I'm just gonna cook 2 dishes. It'll just take about 25 minutes, I suppose, unless the smoke alarm goes off. I have to tell you, for safety reasons, the fire exit's that way. All right, so you've all been told. So the first dish you're going to do is scallops with black pudding cauliflower puree with some sweet potato crisps. So cauliflower puree, very very simple. Go down to Super Value, you get it in a packet. So what we do is you just got some cauliflower which has been chopped up really small. The smaller you chop it up, the quicker it cooks, and it keeps more flavours and nutrients in it. Okay. So a little bit of chicken stock and a tiny bit of cream, and then we're going to bring it up to the boil. And once it comes up to the boil, we'll boil it for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to blitz it up into a puree. This is very, very, very fancy, this thing. Yeah. So again, Neff sponsors all our gear. So this is an induction cooker.
Neff sponsored all the gear.
Neff sponsors.
Great cookers, Neff. Go out and buy Neff now. Procession's over, have you not heard? I tell you a nice tip, if we're making cauliflower puree, put a little bit of sugar in it. It's a little bit bitter cauliflower, so if you put a tiny bit of sugar in it, it's really, really nice, really rounds up the flavour.
I put sugar in earlier on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I told you it was a true profession. A man with integrity.
But he wasn't going to
wouldn't
tell us
sell
the
your
secret.
Sorry, I should have come in.
Yeah.
So with the cod dish, I'm going to do some really quick roasted potatoes. It's kind of healthy chips. So basically, you just get a tray. Okay, we're going to use just an aluminium tray here, and I have my oven, my Neff oven here. It's preheated.
Neff oven.
I have to say Neff 100 times tonight. So we just get the potatoes and just slice them about the thickness of a euro coin. The thinner you slice them, the quicker they cook and the crispier they get. Okay, so if you want to be really, really chefy, you can get a little ring cutter and just cut a few discs out. Again, the better your shapes, the more you can charge in the restaurant.
Do that.
I
have to do something here, right? We'll do ours individually, right?
So there we go, Ross.
We were talking about that attention to detail.
So we're going to then.
I'm going to get me P45 here very quickly.
So we're going to just throw them into a bowl, a few thyme leaves. Okay, a little bit of garlic. Drop it in here. Whenever Ross is ready.
Yes, chef.
A little bit of oil.
No. How many more do you want?
Five.
Right. There we go. How's that, Chief? 3. 1, 2, 3. Right. 4. 5. Too slow, I know, yeah. It's like 14 fellas running around me inside the chapel. You know what, honestly, they're going to be cutting these things out here.
So just
how's that, chef, right?
Perfect.
Right. I'll clear off after you there.
Super swingy. So just toss them a little bit of
salt.
salt.
You got an F bin here anyway? I suppose that. Alright, yeah.
Sponsored by Lidl. So we just lay them on a tray like that, and then stick them into a 200-degree oven for about 10 minutes. Okay? So just throw them straight in there. So while that's the potatoes on for the cod, so the cauliflowers come up to the boil here, right? So I'm going to give that about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to blitz it up in my Bosch. Cookbook, is it? This is Ross's cookbook, by the way. It's a serious cookbook.
Still available. You get it free if you buy a Neff.
I don't think Neff are actually here tonight. So I'm also going to do a little bit of pea puree, which is going to be with the cod. It'll all come together near the end. So with the pea puree, chicken stock. Do I need a bit of sugar in this one?
No.
Okay.
Let me check the recipe.
So I'm just going to stick this on. So with the peas, bring it up to the boil first, and you cook the peas quite quickly. Anytime you cook a green veg, you want to cook it nice and fast to keep the colour and keep all the flavour in it. All right. I'm going to put a knob of butter in that as well. So this is called an emulsion. It's a very popular word up in Chapter 1's kitchen. And it's basically cooking vegetables in a combination of butter and stock. Gives them a really nice glaze and a really nice flavour.
You could charge more for it too.
Exactly. There is loads of tricks in the trade now to charge extra money. So I'm just going to check the cauliflower here. If there's any questions, feel free, because I don't have to talk for as long. This is brilliant.
Who sponsored the cookers?
I think it was Neff, was it?
There's no one here from Neff tonight, no?
No, they couldn't make it. They weren't good enough for
Will
me.
I go back to my book now?
Yeah. So you all know Ross Cooper,
I
the Queen.
have to show you a great photograph in this book. I have to tell you a great story while Dave's going on. That's Jack McCarthy. Do you know Jack? Do you?
Yeah.
Character. Anyway. This is the where is this? That's my second favourite picture in the book. This fella here, Manus McGonagall. I call him Superman's father. Because he eats seaweed, collects seaweed, knows everything there is to know about seaweed. And we took about 3 or 4 pictures outside of Chapter 1. The rest of them we all took in this old building in the north in the city, because we wanted to portray them in the backdrop of north side Georgian decaying Dublin. So, but the few we went out, this was one of them, because we had to go out to see him cook the seaweed. And you can see that day the sand is whipping across here. It's like 4-7 gale, if you can see it. It's like this amazing kind of roaring sea and all that kind of thing. But the photographer was a portrait photographer called Barry McCall, and he's pretty well known. There's nobody in the world he hasn't taken a photo of from the top to the bottom in terms of supermodels, this, that, and the other. But there's one amazing photograph here of Myrtle Allen. We went down to Myrtle, because Myrtle is, all know Myrtle, right? Yeah. So Myrtle is 91 at the moment, so she must have been 89 or near 90 at the time, So we went down anyway, and if I could find it now, it'd be a bit of a help. But anyway, we went down. Oh, it's here actually. Yeah, it's here. So we went down anyway, and we were taking pictures. We were inside in the drawing room, against the curtains, against the light, and the thing about doing books or taking photographs, the photographer will always know when he has the shot, And Barry was an amazing guy. He could take a photograph, like we could have the same camera, walk up to somebody, take the thing from the same angle, and it's just not the same thing. And he had great ability to kind of capture the eyes, which are the windows into the soul, and it just was just an amazing thing. And we were inside there for, I swear to God, we're an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And at the end, anyway, we just weren't getting it, and I had to call time, and I said, look, Barry, we can't be kind of here annoying Myrtle anymore, we just got to go. We've used the best of what we have, Because when they have it, they go, I have it, you come over, have a look, and you go, yeah, that's it, whatever. So we were going out anyway, and she was at the door, and I says to her, go on, you old devil, gives a kiss before I go. And I kissed her, and he was right in front of me. He didn't even, it just happened to be there. He turned around, and he took that shot, and you can see the little laugh and the smile. Yeah? Now who'd like to reenact that? So it was just one of those shots. So I mean, that's the shot I'm most proud of. I actually started in Eurotalks with Myrtle when I came to Dublin first in 1990, and I've been a member on the steering council there kind of almost ever since. And she started Eurotalks. She was an Irish delegate that started in Europe with Paul Bocuse and some of the great European chefs, and they were the Eurotalks is all about kind of the ethos of preserving your craft and about supply and using artisans, supporting the small man and stuff like that. And so I personally have been very influenced by her ethos and philosophy all her life, and she's somebody who is doesn't have to kind of be ramming it down your throat. She just has this eminence, and it just flows out, and she's a very, very remarkable woman, in fact. And there's a very famous chef in California called Alice Waters, who really started this food producer movement in California, San Francisco, in fact, which is kind of the beginnings of this kind of farm, fork to table or land to table and stuff like that. But like Myrtle was doing it 25 years before her, where she kind of had opened the first restaurant in a farmhouse, really, because they were They were the wives of farmers, and they were just thinking, you know, what can we do? How can we make more of this asset? And they decided to do that. And then they built on rooms because people came to eat and they could stay. So, you know, she was really the founder of, you know, that side of Irish hospitality when I wasn't there before. So what do we do now, boss?
I'm just going to get my cod on. So the puree is actually cooked already, cauliflower puree. So I'm just going to blitz it up in a food processor here. And obviously when you're making the puree, the more liquid you add, the thinner it is. So it's completely up to your own consistency. But it's nice to have a consistency that you can make a nice shape on the plate with broth and then it's in oil. Just going to blitz that up.
Money here with the fancy stuff.
Yeah, you're good at the fancy stuff, yeah. So I'm just roasting off a little bit of cod as well for the main course. So with the cod, just a nice hot pan, bit of salt. I don't put any pepper on my fish, I find it's too strong. What do you think?
Yeah, yes, boss. It's not a place to have an argument, by the way.
So
how do you find fish supply here? Is it good?
Brilliant. Yeah. See, our fish supplier is James O'Keefe, is our neighbour. He just buys it off boats for us every day. So it's really we can get anything.
Really? You send them to Dublin, is it?
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than in Dublin. So I'm just going to put a few knobs of butter in here, okay? And then I'm going to put a little bit of chorizo on top of the fish, like that. And then I'm just going to roast it in the oven, okay? The less you handle the fish, as Marty will tell you, the less you
Where
handle
is he?
Where is he?
He's out sculling beer, I'd say. I'll tell you where Marty is now. Marty's mad about cash, where is he? He said to me, will you open the cookery school in Barnacle? I says, geez, what's Marty going to think? I said, if you'd met Marty in here for more than 3 minutes with the scissors and the ribbons, he'd have his name over the door. I said, no. I says, he's looking to fry bigger fish. He's trying to take over the old head at the moment.
Poor Marty gets an awful time.
Yeah, he does, yeah. But I mean, it's amazing what you can do. And Martin has been, you know, and it is really amazing to me the amount of people I would ask going through Kinsale. You know, that a restaurant like that can have such an international reputation. It's very hard to build that. It's much easier to build a national reputation because you've national media. The amount of tourists and food tourists, I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. It really is. But Kinsale does that as well, and Kinsale does it well, and people work together. And I was at the Gourmet Festival on Sunday, and it's just a great time. And there's a lot to be built on there.
Cool. So we're going to cook some scallops now with some black pudding. So I'm going to get Ross to cook this.
Oh yeah, right.
All right. So I've got some Jack McCarthy's black pudding here. So literally what I've done is cut it into like a finger. Again, you can charge more money if you cut things different shape. And then if you put these on top of plates, you can charge.
Oh, out of sight.
Up to chapter 1, they're everywhere. So well, the way I cook scallops is a hot pan. I put my scallops in a little bit of salt. I put a little bit of pepper on scallops because they're quite meaty and I think they can take it. Like a meaty fish can take a bit of pepper. And then I've got a little bit of black pudding. When you're sealing off scallops, there's a large side and there's a small side, so you always put the large side into the pan to get loads of caramelization, you get extra flavour. So it's going to roast them and then roast off a little bit of black pudding in there as well. Do you want to action?
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's cool.
Don't do that at all. Effectively, you really need to wait for your pan to be kind of really hot, you know. If you start them and it's not hot enough, really, you just get, as soon as you put salt on the fish, you know, you start getting the water coming out. And the enemy of caramelizing something really is about, you don't want water, you just don't want it, you know. That's why if you were finishing fish with butter, you would always put in at the end, okay? It's different if you're roasting it, because there's an amount of liquid and butter and water and butter at the end in the solids. If you ever clarify butter, you see that milk, water, like whey and stuff in it. And the same in a pan. If you put it into a pan at the start, it slows down the temp, you know. Really, caramelization really is the proteins in fish or meat when they hit hot oil, they caramelize. And it's nice, obviously, like if you were doing meats, I would always use a sea salt like the Malden, because really what I want to do is I want to smash it into it, okay? So it's still in there. When I put it in the pan, you get the caramelization of the proteins, and then that's really, really nice because you know, it's really brown and crispy, and that's what people like, that kind of thing. Okay? Now, big side down first, Chief, isn't that what you said?
Yes, chef.
Yeah. Thing about cooking things as well is, you know, to really get to understand your heat and know your heat. And I find the mistake people make is that they put pans up too high. And I know we're always taught to like, oh, have it high and roasting, but like, they'd have the gas on full, the oil is burning, the bottom of the scallop is burning. You've had 2 glasses of wine, the guests are ringing the door, your husband's watching the soccer, you're going out of your mind. It's just really about kind of, you know, knowing your cooking utensils, knowing your heat and all that kind of thing. And that's really important. The more, it's like anything, you know. The guy introduced me to cooking first is a guy called Billy McAtee. I don't know if anyone knows Billy McAtee. Billy's a character, you know, and my father sent me. I went to UCC first, really, and what happened with me is that I went to the United States, worked in a restaurant, decided to come home. After 2 weeks of getting drunk, my father says to me, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And I said, as quick as a flash, I want to own a restaurant. He says, well, go do something about it. I said, I'm going off to London to learn how to cook. He sent me up to Billy McAtee, Declan Ryan from the Arbutus. Yeah, that's fine. Michael Clifford of Clifford's and Dermot Lovett. And I talked to them all, but Billy was the man with the fire in his belly. You know, he just has it. He's a really passionate guy. On the first day I went to meet him, he didn't show up at all. The second day he was an hour late. And then he kind of, but just only meeting the guy for a certain amount of time, I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so I went off to London to learn how to cook. And my father didn't speak to me for about 7 or 8 years, maybe. Then I got chapter 1 and started getting more successful. And he was thinking, geez, this fella coming in handy, all right. Then after the Queen's Banquet dinner, the UCC contacted me and they said, we'd like to do a piece on it, you know. So it's grand, you know. And so they did this piece on me. You give me a 2-page spread in the UCC graduates, and I sent it to my uncle. I said, that's what you get for your 20 grand. So he loves me now, you know. Anyway, so you can see now these scallops here. This small one now is pretty much done, okay? And you don't be ever afraid to kind of touch them, okay? What happens with scallops is this one here won't be done, and when I press it, it's really soft. But when I press this one here, it's getting quite firm in the middle. So you'll be taking that off, you know. And these ones need maybe another minute. And the thing is, they'll keep cooking. So that's, you know, that's really about knowing your fish, knowing what you're cooking, not being afraid of heat. You can imagine if this was up now and the oil's burning and the scallop, it just doesn't work, you know. It's really all about controlling the process, you know. So this one now is nearly there, and you know you have to make sure they get a little bit of heat into the middle as well. You know, if they're not cooked up, you know, they can kind of be raw in the middle, but also they're quite cold in the middle, and it's a bit off-putting and stuff. You know. I mean, the other thing about cooking as well is you can always season things afterwards. You know, very often with things, if I want to make sure they're seasoned properly, I'd say to you fellas, not season that in front of me. You know, like you know they would cook things and then put it out in front of them on a plate, and then they would season it. Okay, so then I know it's done. You know, and the difference between cooking something, you know, professionally and cooking at home is the attention to detail really, and it's really all about kind of what you know, the detail, and that kind of detail is in seasoning and things like that. You know. There you go, chef. There's your scallops. So
looks good.
So what you brought me down here for?
Exactly, yeah. And then as a garnish, which is a nice little garnish, it's just some finely chopped spring onion or scallion, because it gives a kind of an oniony bite. So just drop them on. And then these are all the little extra tips. Like Ross used to do a lovely dish up in the restaurant. It was scallops with mousseline potato, which is like a really creamy potato puree. And then there was just some freshly chopped spring onion and crispy bacon on it. It was absolutely gorgeous.
There's a license fee on that one, you know.
I think it's 70 or 80 euros for the starter. So just drop them on, and then a few little pea shoots. And then this is just a sweet potato crisp, so it's just a finely sliced sweet potato cooked in a deep fat fryer at 160 degrees. And then you just sprinkle it in some sea salt. And basically what you're looking for here is a bit of texture on the plate and a bit of colour. So that adds a bit of crunch, because the scallops are quite soft, the puree is soft, and that pudding is quite soft. So just drop one of them on. And that's just a very simple starter. That took, I don't know, 5-10 minutes to cook from start to finish. Very, very simple, and just, again, if you serve on a nice plate, an extra 2 or 3 euros on the bill. So again, these are all the tricks of the trade. So I'm just going to check my cod. So my cod is cooked, my potatoes are cooked.
I tell you, a nice kind of way for you to know at home, if you have a big piece of fish like that. I know we know by touch, because all we do all day is that kind of thing, you know, and it's not as easy at home, I understand. If you have a small little needle, a fine needle, okay? What we do with guys, you start in the fish section, and you get your little needle, and you just stick it into the middle of the fish, right just into the middle. And you pull it out and touch it on your lip. If it's warm, the fish is cooked. Fish flesh cooks at 49 degrees centigrade in the middle. That's not that hot. So it's just, that's another kind of just a simple tip. I've been around a long time, you know, I know all these things. I'm looking to retire, actually.
Remember my first night in chapter 1, I was in the fish section. Jesus Christ, I think I had like 2 fish on orders all I had, and I was like this. And Ross comes up and goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Stop looking at me." He's like, "I have to look at you, it's my restaurant." But, so, I remember the first thing Ross showed me was a swoosh, as I call it, or the Master Chef's swoosh. So you get a bit of puree like that, and then you just get the back of the spoon, you go around like that. Okay? So then you just get a few of your little, they're nice and crispy, okay? So it's like posh chips, basically. So you can just stick a few on like that. So when it comes to food, obviously, the eating part of it is flavour and texture, a bit of crunchy, a bit of spice, you know? And then when it comes to presentation, it's colour and shapes. So you just think of it like that. So then you just get a piece of cod. Okay, and just serve it on the brown side up, like that. And just drop it on. And then just a little bit of chorizo on top. And again, the chorizo just adds a nice little bit of texture there, something spicy just to jazz it up. And then I like always using a bit of cooking liquid, just drizzle it over the top because it's full of flavour. Again, on a black plate, it looks quite nice. I remember we were in chapter 1, Ross used to get us to shell all these peas.
Shell the pea, each pea.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Used to do a goat's cheese and pea starter, didn't we?
I won't be able to retire with a clean conscience.
So you could just shell the peas like that if you've nothing better to do. And again, a few more crisps like that, but these kind of crisps are really nice. You could do them with parsnips, you can do them with celeriac, you can do them with potato. Any kind of root vegetable works really well. And then again, it's just a few pea shoots because I have some peas on the plate. But that's the kind of style of food that we'll be doing in the cookery school. And what will happen is that you're all standing there, there'll be a dining table that seats 16 people. You come sit down, have a cup of coffee, a scone. I'll demonstrate a dish, and then you go recreate it, sit down, have it with a glass of wine. Do a bit of wash up, take a 20-minute break, go on to the next dish. And we'll cover 5 dishes throughout the day. And again, with our stations, there's 4 people to a bench, you've plenty of space. Again, what we're trying to do is just, like that was cauliflower, a bit of pudding, and a scallop. That's pea, potato, and a bit of cod. It's just 3-4 ingredients, cooked very, very simply, and then served on a really fancy plate. And that's basically it. Okay? So, if you have any questions, so I can relax now, my work is done. So, again, we're going to have loads of different courses which will be on the website. The Cooking with Fire course, we're going to head up now. The Cuban cocktail bar is open, there's mojitos for everybody. Then we've got some authentic pizzas outside, and we have a barbecue on the go as well. But if there's any questions, I'm here. Ross is here if you have any food questions, because he knows more than I do. But I would genuinely like to thank Ross, like he's a bit of a legend. I won't give him too much of an ego because he has a big ego already.
Big one.
But his cookbook is savage. It really is savage. And I hope you enjoyed yourself and the night is young. Have a good crack. Job done.
Job done. Congratulations.